Thank you, Jenny, for that beautiful introduction. And thank you, Satya, for taking the time to be here with us today. It is a big honor to interview you and discuss a topic that is personally important to both of us. As a person who is deaf, I use ASL, American Sign Language, to communicate. I'll be asking you a series of questions, and as you see me signing on the screen, my ASL interpreter is voicing what I'm saying. Now, I remember when I first arrived at Microsoft as a new employee, and you made the time to stop by my office and learn the sign for welcome. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
You've been passionate, really very passionate about accessibility for a long time. You've been the executive sponsor for our Disability Employee Resource Group, and you've spoken at this event many times. Can you share with us what accessibility means to you?
Again, thank you so much, Leah, for being at Microsoft, being such an inspiration, and doing what you do. I really admire the work you do, and it's great to be working alongside you. As you said, I mean, to me, accessibility is something that I came to from both a personal experience and, of course, now working alongside very talented people like yourself all throughout Microsoft. In my case, the first time I immersed myself around accessibility, the needs of the community, as well as the technology, was because of my son, Zane, who has cerebral palsy. And as he was experiencing all of what he needed to get done. And in fact, that's how I got to know what an empowering force technology can be to give an ability to empower everyone who has needs around accessibility. And so that's how I came to it. But quite honestly, the last 10 years or so that I have been very actively involved with this accessibility community, I've learned so much about what universality there is in the needs of the community here. Because the more we understand deeply how to empower everyone, we can, in fact, advance technology and benefit everyone that much more. And so that's, I think, been one of the blessings for me to be involved in this. And it's just been a great learning experience and a great experience of impact.
Wow, thank you. Empathy has been core to embedding accessibility into the DNA of Microsoft. What would you say are the core tenets that have powered Microsoft's accessibility journey?
Yeah, I mean, the core is to recognize that you need to first work on a culture that truly gives importance to, I would call it, that universality in the design aesthetic of a company like Microsoft. I mean, don't get me wrong. One of the core things is we have a responsibility. In fact, there are laws out there that we need to conform to when building our platforms and tools. So as a platform and a tool provider, we needed to make sure we are doing everything to make our software accessible. But really, we had to go one step beyond that. To truly do that, we had to first work on our culture. And that culture starts by looking around us, right? I mean, to be able to take everyone who comes to Microsoft, irrespective of their needs, how do we empower them so that they can fully participate in our culture, fully participate in our company and our innovation and our work. And that's what I think has been the market change at Microsoft, that deep empathy for people we work with, deep empathy for the needs out there in the marketplace. That's been translated into this cultural underpinning. And quite frankly, right now, we even have, for example, an assessment tool which any one of our own teams can go run through and see how ready they are. How do you onboard an employee who needs some accessibility help? How do you truly both use technology and the people connection there? That's something that I think only comes when you take the culture element. And then that allows you to build all the capability, which we need a lot of. But before capability, you need the culture.
That is so true. It's very important. Next question for you. What advancements are you seeing in accessible technologies?
Broadly speaking, I think some of the AI technologies that we have, especially as we are increasingly getting better at being able to even combine, I would say, speech, vision, and text, and build some of these large scale AI models, I think we will have increasingly bigger and bigger breakthroughs. Some of the things that you see in Seeing AI are the beginnings of it. I would say, to me, it's still amazing that eye gaze as a modality of input is having such an impact. It's all started with Steve Gleason challenging us and saying, what is a way for him with ALS to be able to communicate? And that led to what is eye gaze technology now in Windows. And it's just tremendous to see people being able to play even games, which is a high precision activity so far, with just their ability to control their gaze. Even what we are doing, as I said, with captions on Teams, the ability to use that language understanding in real time to be able to help people follow along in meetings, is another capability. The Xbox adaptive controller, that is another one of those examples of how technology there, I would say everything from the packaging to the very product concept, I felt was very well thought out with the needs of the community here. And so we have lots of innovation, but it's really more than any one innovation. It's that ability to think about universal design and accessibility, not as something that you do after the product has been created, but at the core of how you build products, I think is just fantastic to see.
Yes, we are currently living through absolutely unprecedented times as the world is currently being impacted and disrupted by coronavirus, especially the disability community. How do we innovate in the post-COVID era? And what is the role of technology in inclusive economic recovery?
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is something, again, we're all in the midst of, we're learning a lot. I think the first responsibility all of us have is to ensure that we use all the power we have of technology to ensure that people are safe. So, for example, anything that we can do to keep vulnerable populations, many people with disabilities, in many cases, are more vulnerable. So then enabling them to be productive participants where they are, and using the technology, and also as they return to the workplace, ensuring that they remain safe. I think that that's a place where technology innovation in both self-attestation as well as testing and everything that it entails, I think is going to be an important element. But the second aspect of it is that how do we ensure that even when someone is remote, right? Because one thing that is, we have made progress in the workplace, in making the workplace more accessible. Now, can we ensure that people, when they're even remote, have the same access, including, in fact, you've given us great feedback on all that we need to do, even in a product like Teams, so that it's really helpful for anybody who has accessibility needs. So some of the features we've introduced, like captions, are great, but we have a lot more to do. So I would say, even in remote learning, in fact, the read aloud features, the immersive reader features, those are so important for someone where a teacher is trying to communicate and the student is learning. And I think learners who learn differently need all of these tools. So I think that doing everything around skilling, access to technology, so that everyone can participate fully well in our economy while keeping them and their communities safe, I think is the most important thing we can do to really help have an equitable world going forward.
Thank you for saying that. I just want to add too that it's been very humbling and very inspiring to be part of that progress that we're making moving forward. So one last question for you. Any final advice you'd like to leave the audience with?
First of all, I'm so thankful for everyone in this community, for who you are, what you do, and the inspiration energy that you bring to your work, because I think that it's through your active participation, advocacy, and support is how we as a community will get better. And I think at Microsoft, we have a real responsibility as a platform and a tools company for us to build those technologies that are going to empower everyone who works here at Microsoft. And as we do that, we will be able to really serve everyone in the world. So really, thank you very, very much for everything that you're doing. And I love this event because I think this event even brings out everybody, their ideas. It's a galvanizing force for the entire company. And the ecosystem around us. And so that, this is great to celebrate. Use this event as both a celebration and an inspiration. Thank you.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much for being a part of it and taking the time to share your remarks with all of us today and everyone who's watching from home. It has been very deeply insightful. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in.